I don't know about you guys, but I felt the past 3 years have been nothing but Supra, especially since they broke down and finally gave us a manual. So here, it's high time for us to check back in with the car that brought the Supra back to life and ask the question, are we forgetting anything? Okay, so first things first, are we forgetting anything? Well, the obvious one, it's still a convertible, it is still on offer as a 4-cylinder and a 6-cylinder, and yes, you still cannot have it with a manual transmission. This one is the 4-cylinder. It is a very respectable 4-cylinder at that, because 0 to 60 on this one is 5.2 seconds. The 6-cylinder is like mid-3s. VMAX on both 155 miles an hour. But you're looking at it and you're saying, that looks like a 6-cylinder. It's got the bigger wheels. Some of the body work has changed. What's going on? Answer, while you and I were focusing on a multitude of Supras, one even with 3 pedals, BMW quietly made very small changes to the car that donated its DNA to the Supra. You look at this and you swear up and down it looks like the 6-cylinder, and that's because even the 4-cylinders now have the M Sport package fitted as standard, which changes some of the bodywork, changes some of the interior. No, it doesn't change the wheels. Those you have to pay extra for. Now, is it a 4-cylinder? I can promise you this, because in the total driving you are seeing today, I have done an average of 24.9 mpg. Now, before you and I get to driving, if you get value out of this or any of my other episodes, hit the like button. You would be shocked what it does for the algorithm and in turn the reach of these episodes, which in turn gets more cars and the people behind these cars, which I can share with you. Some good news today. In the grand scheme of the entire car world, this is a veritable lightweight. 3,314 pounds, or depending on express your weights and measures, 1,503 kilograms. If it were a 6-cylinder, it would be about 230 pounds more. With that Sport Plus mode. Well, it's 4-cylinder, so a bit of a delay there. But in reality, this is one of the better 4-cylinders from any manufacturer, let alone just German manufacturers. I've always told you this 4-cylinder from BMW is more supple than the counterpart from Mercedes. It delivers power a bit differently, and as such, it doesn't feel like a buzzy 4-cylinder. Yeah, you hear it, it makes a lot of noise over the 6-cylinder, but in reality, it works well with the overall personality of this car. Similar situation over on the Toyota side, but here you notice a bit more because you have more of an oral sensation. Like the rest of these vehicles, they are paired with an 8-speed torque converter automatic, a ZF unit, same as we see in the Jaguars, but this BMW does a significantly better job at programming these things, and as such it feels like a completely different transmission. Now, why is that important? Well, it makes a sports car here feel like a sports car even though it doesn't have 2 clutches. And yeah, there's paddle shifters on a lot of other cars, but usually you use them and you don't feel like you want to use them. Here, you're encouraged to use them because they actually work. There's very few times you get denied downshifts, and that is a big thing in a roadster. Whether it's the BMW or the Toyota, you and I have now had a lot of real-world experience with this thing. So a couple of observations. Let's first pick up on that Mpg discussion. Yes, 24.9 with this specific car here, but I have had some good experience with the 6-cylinders. I've done on the freeway, so it's nothing but freeway driving. I've done almost 30 Mpg, but on these kind of roads out here, I've done probably 16. So there's more sway in the fuel economy in the 6-cylinder than the 4-cylinder. Then, speaking of fuel, the gas tank on these things, unusually small. This one, 13.7 gallons. We had the same problem in that living with a manual transmission Supra episode. You go through gas faster and you think the fuel economy is bad. It really isn't. It's just the tank is too small compared to other BMWs. Then there's the biggest misnomer about these things, the size. Most people don't understand how big or small they are until they drive them. For example, the wheelbase. That's about an inch longer than a 911. But where our eyes play tricks on us is the proportions. The driver and passenger in a 911 sit about here, but the driver and passenger in this sit about here, right in front of the rear axle, which makes you think it's this long hood car and longer than really what it is. Until you get behind the wheel, then you understand, yes, it's a roadster, but it's not a Miata-sized roadster. Now, as you and I press into driving dynamics, this is where our checklist of differences between this and a Supra start to really show. First and foremost, this car is fitted with a package that gives it a limited slip differential, adjustable dampers, and most importantly, the M Sport brakes. Now, the Supra in a 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder, wonderful car to drive. I've gone down on record as saying it's the car to buy, at least drive, over, say, a new Z. I know, controversial. But this is a step above it, because it's clear the BMW engineers are saving the best for their own product. And the big thing you notice, the brakes. My God, the brakes. I've told you in many previous episodes that the M Sport brakes, that's the performance brake option, but not carbon ceramic. It's about the best non-carbon ceramic brake on the market. This almost feels like the difference between getting in a carbon ceramic car after jumping out of a car with standard brakes. But then we get into the overall driving experience here. And yes, it feels like the Supra, whether it's a 6 or a 4. This one again has adjustable dampers, so it feels a bit stiffer like a 6-cylinder Supra. But where this shines is the combination of all those bits in that performance package and the 19-inch wheels. They don't disturb the ride quality, but they overall come together. All those pieces come together to make this 4-cylinder feel significantly sharper, at least in driving dynamics, than a 4-cylinder Toyota Supra. No, let's not play a round of our favorite game, the options game. Rather, let's do a comparison. This and the Toyotas we've driven recently. This one, the S30 BMW Z4, has a base price of $52,800. As a basis of comparison to the Toyotas, a 4-cylinder, that's almost 10 grand more in base price. In fact, that's about the base price of a 6-cylinder Supra. Then we have to add this stunning color, Portimao blue, and believe it or not, it's a bargain at $650. To give you an idea, the BMW, they have clearly a better color palette on offer. Toyota, they finally added a blue with a tan, but that was a limited edition model. So I'd say point BMW. Then we move to the inside. Cognac Vernasca leather interior. We're really paying for the grade of leather, $1,500. But again, there are much better color choices on offer inside the BMW than in the Toyota. Then we go to the driver's assistance package. This is all the ADAS stuff that we can have on the Supra. That's $700. Then we move to the dynamic handling package. Now we can get adjustable dampers on the Supra, but only on the 6-cylinder. Here you can have the adjustable dampers as part of this dynamic handling package, which is an additional $2,450. But it's not just the adjustable dampers, it's the limited slip in the back, and most importantly, the M Sport brakes. That we can't have on any Supra, so again, point BMW, but you pay for it. Then the shadow line trim. So this, you can customize more than the Supra. So this kind of black trim here, I don't think I would do that. $400, especially with this combo here. I'd probably want a satin finish here, maybe a tan top. That would really pop with this color. Then we move to the premium package. Now this adds more fancy bits. It's $3,000 for a heated steering wheel, heated seats, and LED headlamps. Then we move to the wheels here, 19-inch wheels. Again, those can't be had on the 4-cylinder Supra, so I'd say it's worth the $600. And then, shockingly optional on both of these cars, wireless charging. Why is that optional in a vehicle that even in the Toyota, it's a base price of around $43,000, we have to pay $500 for that. Then the only other option fitted to this specific car is the Harman Kardon sound system, and we have to pay $875 for it. If you remember in the Toyotas, it's part of a package in the 6-cylinder. Then the only other thing we have to pay extra for is the destination handling. No, not from Japan, and not from Germany, rather Graz, Österreich for $995, which brings us to a total retail price of this stunningly beautiful 4-cylinder convertible, $64,470. To give you a basis of comparison, the last Supra you and I drove was in that Living with a Manual Transmission episode, and that car was fully equipped with the exception of an automatic transmission, and that was $58,000, but it was a 6-cylinder. Last time you and I drove a Toyota Supra with a 4-cylinder, it was a hair under $50,000 US, fully equipped. Now let's you and I move to the final point on our checklist and the differences between this and a Supra. And the biggest thing is the interior. No, it's not just that it feels more open with the top down, it's the way this thing is set up. I have not been shy in telling you the interior of the Supra, it's abysmal. It's not so much build quality, it's just dark, it feels claustrophobic. The car needs at least a sunroof or a glass roof to open it up, and definitely needs to change the color and trim because the black doesn't do it any favors. This clearly great color combination with this blue tint, it's stunning. But more importantly, the car feels more open and airy, and that's not just because of the top. Look at where the dashboard is. The dashboard is physically farther away from me than in a Supra. The Supra, again, lovely car to drive, but I feel like that screen is in my face. The steering wheel is just a travesty of design, and this one, now with that M Sport package, whatever you want to call it, fitted as standard, they all now have sport seats. So that makes a difference in the overall usability of this car. Okay, so what have you and I learned today? Well, first and foremost, we all knew coming into this that the Toyota is the cheaper of the two. The people who design, engineer, and build these things make no bones about that. But having driven every Supra that they now make and every Z4 they now make, it's more than just hardtop, convertible, as well as exterior design. I would argue the biggest change is that interior. It's not just the materials and the color and trim choices, it's the physical size and the impression that one does not feel crammed in. Now before you say it, it has nothing to do with the roof because you have the same impression even with the roof up. Now that brings us to the question we posed at the top of the episode, are we forgetting anything about this? I would argue we forgot one big point. This is still very much a fantastic roadster. It's just about 10% more than the Supra, and from what we've learned about the interior, we're not just paying 10% for a folding roof, which brings us to the wish list. And here you know what I'm gonna say. Supras right now, trying to get a manual transmission Supra, they're non-existent. You're going to pay a lot over sticker for one, at least in like the coastal states. So I would argue there's an opportunity for BMW to put a manual transmission, at least in the 6-cylinder. 4-cylinder, I get it. These are probably sold to people who don't really care about a manual transmission, so I'm not going to beat them up about this. However, I am just one man. Maybe we could do something with the M2 engine, put it in a Z4 and make it like a near M car, not a full M car, because you're not going to take something like this on a track. And it's with that I turn this episode around to you guys to opine in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And here I would suggest you guys watch our episode where we did live with one of these. Granted, it had a roof, it had a manual transmission, and a very different badge. In fact, it had 2 extra cylinders. But in that episode, we did a little bit more day-to-day stuff, even to the point where we took it to the gas station. Until I see you in the next episode, bis später.